Patent leather shoes clipped the paving around them. Dan and Alan folded into the crowd and fell into step. Alan took Dan's hand. The San Francisco native led the novice past air-conditioned patisseries serving international cake. The toughened glass of the post-riot period diffused its green, refracted light into turquoise interiors. Customers sat in healthy postures on tubular chairs. The tramcars of the city rolled on by, their hand-painted yellow salting the metropolitan air with nostalgia. "There's a place a little south." "So that's south of Market or the Mission?" Dan practiced his city geography. "Between the two, Dr. Margarita's. Have you heard of it?" "No, it sounds fine." Among the cantinas and taquerias, the coffee houses and convenience stores, where the market becomes the mission, stands Dr. Margarita's Chow house. It is as bright an emporium as any in the city by the bay. "This is cool," said Dan. "Yeah, I like it. It's mad." Invented creatures with human heads were suspended by wires from the ceiling. Monstrous inflatables and papier-mâché beasts grinned inanely down. Huge bugs, giraffes, penguins, people, musical icons and vinyl stars hung from the Mad Hatter loft of Dr. Margarita's Chow house. Wigs covered balloon heads on animal bodies. Unknown and disparate humanoids jostled with Che Guevara, Tina Turner, Malcolm X, and Uncle Sam. These man-made creatures floated and leered over the sober and drunk alike, and loomed in the minds of those on psychedelics. Dan and Alan got some beers and slid into a booth beneath a roach with a human face, lascivious smile, and curling antennae. These three, cocks of the walk, cast glances back and forth. The roachy one swayed in the breeze of a fan which swept from side to side. "So, now, where are you from, Dan?" "You want the whole story?" "I like whole stories." "I'm from Milwaukee." "Uh-huh. Milwaukee, Wisconsin." Dan breathed in the empty, cold air of Milwaukee. It seemed he'd conjured the city up by merely naming it. "Uh-huh." Alan was looking at him. Milwaukee glitched in Dan's vision, the breweries on the horizon, the yellow smog, the all-pervasive hops. His life. Last week he'd spilled the beans of it easily enough to the apartment manager, a guy he didn't care about, but now, here, he was already choking up, clamming as the past of it came to engulf him. He guessed he wasn't drunk. Or Alan was too real. "It's a lot to leave behind," he said. "I guess I'm slow in coming out." "I guess you are. A little shy, in reality. Should I go first then, huh?" "I'm too shy to go first is all." Dan hadn't been so backward auditioning just an hour ago, but with Alan it was another deal. "You go first." Alan leaned back in the wooden booth of Dr. Margarita's Chow house and began. "Like everyone else in this city, I am originally from somewhere else. A small town called Nowhere. The whole town was a cult, an imitation of the American dream, a nightmare. The inhabitants made regular sacrifices to propitiate a god which had not yet actually smiled upon them. One of the rites of induction was scheduled to happen during adolescence. Sexual encounters were considered humanizing, in a heterosexual way, of course," the model clarified. Dan gave a nod of recognition, as if clarification were needed. "There were police operatives everywhere, telling me what to do. Not just the CIA. Everyone is a policeman, and the police go about their business openly. They are advertised on television, planted in movies and school books. Everywhere, everyone was sworn in. Heterosexual courtship and its culmination was the ceremony of initiation into the cabal, a required necessity. While burning alcohol as incense, the elders of the community would witness the entry of adolescents into adulthood, orchestrating from behind the scenes. Parties would be held. Observance of the rites of these parties was obligatory, if a person was to be accepted into the family. You know what I'm talking about. The way of life cemented by this liturgy was considered vital to the survival and continuance of the flock. Anybody not willing to participate in this foundation was considered subversive, a malignant danger. All children were therefore taught to be wary from their earliest days, to be on the lookout for possible traitors. If spotted, they should point them out with a derisive sneering and sound the alarm. The children were given handbooks and caricatures, enabling them to spot the transgressors. I was given such a handbook myself. Alan leaned forward and stroked a finger down the condensation of his beer. You know how it is with a small town, a microcosm of the larger culture. An exaggerated caricature. Small towns appear even more bizarre. They are melodramas with extreme close-ups and edits, some weird, overcooked psychosis. Like this bar. Like this bar. Alan looked at the statement. The foundations of the organization were inalienable. They had led to comfort and prosperity for all involved, so it was claimed. The ritual was held as necessary to any human congress. Its structures alone satisfied the deep human need for integration and fellowship, for proximity and communion, for physical contact and intimacy beyond government. This is where the segregation began. Anybody not prepared to undertake this rite of passage into society denied the being of others. In negating the validity of the ritual, they labeled themselves as sociopathic, and were, therefore, logically, a threat to order and well-being, and were, therefore, cast out, or subjected to corrective treatments. Alan weighed his statements with his beer. He sucked on the cold sauce. The Mad Hatter of Uncle Sam hung from the cords above. So, before they could get their electrodes into me, on the very evening of my scheduled sacrifice, I stole a pickup and got the hell out of town. I became known as a thief thereby, confirming my unworthiness, my inherent evil. I quit the town as fast as that truck could drive and haul me out of it. I drove west to Reno. I dumped the truck there and then hitched a ride to San Francisco with a bus full of other crazy people, all escaping from somewhere. Alan stretched out his muscular arms and hung them across the back of the booth. The model cocked his head, a great albatross in his white T-shirt, his outstretched wings moored either side of him, looking at Dan. Hung out a day in Reno first, to stock up on food. It was a cool enough diversion, a halfway house, all its judgments made on cash. You been there, to Reno? Dan shook his head. He hadn't been anywhere, nowhere like this. It's cheap to eat. The casinos give away food for free. It's all bait. My new friends and I just stocked up, slept overnight on the bus, helped ourselves to a huge breakfast in the morning, and then started the haul over to Sierra Nevada, in this old school bus. Took us forever to get to the top of the mountains, but then when you get to the top and start coming down the other side, there's this big old sign over the road up there. Sign says, "Downhill for the next 27 miles. Test your brakes now." Alan laughed to remember it. He folded his wings forward and illustrated the slope with his alabaster hands. Downhill for 27 miles. We rolled all the way down to the Bay Bridge and rolled on into this city. He leaned forward, conspiratorial. Of course, back home I'd heard of San Francisco's reputation as another country. I'd heard it condemned for its freedom by the elders, those same ones who elsewhere supported freedom, or said they did. Anyhow, and this you know, Alan brought his face close to Dan's and said, "Those aspects of myself which were nothing back home were here what made me."